Welcome to House of Instruction. This is Arabia, your host. Once again, we are back. I'm here with RABISHEIKH here in Amman, Jordan. And RABISHEIKH, welcome.
Welcome.
We had a question because of the plan that you shared with us last time. Would like to know, where did you get the plan from?
All right, so this plan came into effect about 4 years ago, but the instruction came about 5 years ago. And at that time, I was living in the Bedouin village of Shegev Shalom, and I was living with my teacher, Sheikh Aid, and living with the Sheikh, I'm learning the customs and the traditions, and he's constantly having me go back and check my book for the facts. So we had a Torah, and he's having me verify what he's saying, though he's only reading the Quran. And he's like, well, it's time for this. We have to buy land. And I look, and there it was. Jeremiah chapter 36, I believe, and verse 32 is it's chapter 32, and I think it goes down to verse 36. But we're going to start, we should start further up, maybe like around chapter 14, verse 14 or 12. So, and I just want to read it today so that people can kind of understand where the plan comes from, how it worked, and how in this process of following this instruction, like I ended up kind of reflecting what was said. However, you only get the details of the instructions from the Aramaic. So from the Aramaic is the original writings and the original translations from the people in the land. And so we're going to look at this. And I think that it's kind of important today because when you see what's going on with Kanye, Nick Cannon, Kyrie, how every time somebody speaks against the Jewish people, and when I say speaks against them, I mean literally pronounce their position in the world, the power that they hold, who they are imitating as a natural fact, they're labeled anti-Semitic. And if your actions are these actions, that is not being anti-you.
Right.
That is not being anti what you want to call yourself. We are against the actions that you are committing because they are detrimental to us. You are literally trying to abolish our history. And there is only one family listed that actually says they do so. Now, let's take a look at that because it's in the instruction. So let's take a look.
Thus says Yah of Sabaoth.
Now, that's Yah of the covenants, plural. So there's many covenants. And so when you see Yah Sabaoth, it's Yah of host, yes, host of armies, but it's also Yah of the covenants. So each captain is a host to a number of followers. So every time he gives a covenant, that covenant is attached to that leader and to his followers after him. So Abraham has a covenant, Moses has a covenant, everybody gets a covenant, right, that is in close relationship with him.
The Allah of Israel.
Okay, the God of Israel.
Take these bonds, this bond of purchase and what is written and printed and sealed, and this open bond, and put them in an earthenware vessel so that they may last for many days.
Okay, so he's talking to Jeremiah, but he's not talking to Jeremiah. So he says, take a contract, these bonds, that are the bonds of purchase, written and sealed, and put them in a vessel to last for many days. In other words, you're going to have to do the work and save it, it's going to be some time before these documents become relevant. Okay, so continue.
For thus says Yah of Sabaoth, the Allah of Israel.
So now it says this, for thus says Yah of the covenants, the God of the covenants, the God of the children of Israel, which is what you want to may say, some call today Yasharal, the Negroes. It says,
houses and fields and vineyards shall again be bought in this land.
so now you get the instruction. These are what the bonds of purchase are for. These are contracts to purchase and buy land. And so he says, it shall again. So he's talking to Jeremiah to do it. And he's saying, in the future, do this same thing. So we went and we bought land and fields 4 years ago. And here we are now, 4 years after that, and we've starting the school and repeating the process with people. So instead of buying lands as this is your land, you the individual, we cannot do that because you need a community to survive out here.
Yes.
So in this region, in this countries where you're coming to, it's not about who you are. It's about the group you belong to. So when you have this understanding of which family do you belong, that's what they want to know. Is it a respectable family? Do you have some land? Do you have buildings, houses? Is your family supporting itself? So it says houses, that's one. Fields, now that's for livestock, growing food, and vineyards, that's for growing fruit. So you have fruits, vegetables, herbs, and houses and livestock, the 4 pillars of survival. It says that they should be bought again in this land. So again, here we are back in the land, and we had done this 4 years ago. And here we are now opening up our secret, right? We're telling the world what we've done and how far we've come in 4 years. And that's through 2 years of a pandemic.
Wow.
Right? So before the pandemic hit, this was done. As a matter of fact, you can see, here's our timeline. So we went, and the year before the pandemic, we actually went out and purchased the land rights and got the birthrights and got our first pieces of land. The year after that, there was 1 year of investigation because to have a birthright and the land right, you have to have proof of patents that you are indigenous to the land, that you are you have a rightful heir to the land. And when my birthright came back in the house I belonged to, which was the house of Rehoboam and the house of David, right? So when this comes up, you're the son of Solomon, you're the son of David, and then we have a clear path all the way back to Judah, back to Abraham, back to Adam. My indigenousness was resolved. It was done, right? So everything was clarified, and that came back from a year-long investigation through the House of Commons, through birth certificates in America, through transcripts from the islands, and even the ship that my great-grandfather came on when the Queen exiled him from Africa. So I had all this information, and even his obituary of his assassination printed in the New York Times. So I had all this information from my family history that came back. And so now I had the birthright. That's the year before COVID-19 shut the world down. Then that next year, I had the fields, I had the birthrights, and there was the annunciation and the pronunciation of my kingship as crown prince that year, done in Israel, in the South, in Dimona, right? And then from there, we went forward into lockdown.
Wow.
So we had lockdown happen, and now here we are. It took 4 or 5 years, and now we're able to again continue, right? We're in a fully completed building with a conservatory. Everything is set. We are situated, and we are able to receive people and extend 5-year visas, whereas before this wasn't available. So continue.
Then I prayed before Yahweh after I had given the bond of purchase to Baruch the son of Neriah, saying, receive my petition, O Yahweh Allah. Behold, you have made the heavens and the earth by your great power and with your exalted arm. Nothing is hidden from before you. Who does good to thousands of generations and repays the sins of the fathers on the sons when they go on to commit sin after them?
All right, so you guys are hearing this, but most people don't know where this is derived from, right? So now this is Jeremiah's prayer, right? So after he had done it himself, he gives his petition to Baruch and gives Baruch instructions, and Baruch goes down into Egypt and does what Baruch is supposed to do, right? From that point, what you're hearing is that in the prayer of Yah is his covenant with the people. He does good for thousands of generations who obey his instructions. And then he punishes the generations who keep repeating what their fathers are doing.
Yes.
So if you don't know, there is a separation between us and the people of the book. And there's generations of people keeping customs and traditions, following government laws and obeying government laws and rules that are not ours, right? So hence, what you see with them always destroying a leader who brings up our history, it is because you are under that government's rule and that government's authority. You have yet to leave. Now, the issue is we want to leave as a group.
Yes.
We don't want to leave on our own and of our own strength. We want to leave as a group. If we're going to leave, we all leaving. That's how our mentality is as people.
Right.
Nobody wants to leave alone. Well, now we have the opportunity. You don't have to leave alone. You can come in, you can come learn, you can come prepare, because the people cannot go from an organizational government structure into nothing. They have to come into another structure. So the awakening has begun, right? I am in the documentary with Ron Dalton, right? When he's up in Wadi Na'am, we are the Negev people. I am in that documentary, right? And that is my family. That's my family's sheep. That's my family's land. We are one people. So when you see this documentary, Hebrews to Negroes, like we're in that. Right. And so we are attached to that. And the history of that is absolutely true. So what they're saying that is anti-Semitism, they don't like that now Black people have the information and the knowledge to rise up as a collective against the collective that is oppressing them. Wow. So moving forward with this idea, right? So this is what Jeremiah says, and he's separating two groups here. So now we, as the group that's disconnected, we have a unique opportunity.
Yes, we do.
We have the opportunity to connect, to skip over, right, thousands of years of fathers that would constantly never turn back to the traditions and customs, constantly running from our history, constantly running from our nobility to do what we want to do and see what the world is about. Now we've seen all the world, and now we have to disconnect from that and kind of jump back into the original state. We have to do things in the original way to get the understanding. So let's go see what the rest of the instructions are.
One thing I like to share, what I'm recognizing is, as you were saying, everyone thinks we're to come out as one whole group, like it was at the day of Musa. But we're in a different time, a different era, as well as Jeremiah shares that we are to save ourselves. We are to flee. This is a personal thing.
Right.
You have to make the choice and decision.
It's personal, right? So here's that full understanding that we got at the time, when we created the plan. It's personal. So rather than everybody trying to come out at one time, that's going to take a tremendous amount of money and resources. And as you can see, the people who control the money and the resources, right? The same Hasidic people, right? The Hasidi, right? These Hasidic people, they are not going to contribute to this. They don't need to. They don't want to, because if you unplug the entire unit out at one time, everything is going to collapse, and they're not going to allow that. They're not going to commit suicide that way. So what you're going to do is you have to come out each on your own and prepare your landing pad, right? Where are you going and what are you coming into? And instead of going and coming into a hotel, instead of going and coming into a vacation spot, you're going to go and now you're going to send that money in, and it's going directly to your home, right? It's going directly into getting an establishment. It's going directly into building up your community base where you're going. And then you can send in the group. A group can come, right? So if we build a home that can house, let's say, 100 people, right? We build a housing unit that can house 100 people. Well, that means 100 people can come.
Yes.
If you have 100 people in your group, your 100 people come and they come into you, you become the governor of that house. Now we have to take those people in that house, strengthen them, right? And each man in that house will get another house just like it.
Right.
So that now, if there is 100 people in this house and there's 10 men, right? So 10 men, wives, some children, right? Each man, we built 10 more houses. Now we can bring in 1,000.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And you have 1,100 because you still fill back up that same house again with another 100. Right. So now those 11 men become 1,010 men. Then we take the same thing and we replicate it, right? If it takes us 3 months to build one house, right? You can compound that if we have the resources. We can compound the house building, and you can build 5 houses at a time, right? And they all get built at the same time. So in 3 months, you have the capacity to bring in, 500 more people, right? You can do that exponentially if you have the resources. But it's up to the people to give, to donate, to sow into us while we're receiving people before they come.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we have the ability and the capacity, and we are doing it. Like, we're not doing it. We got one building now, so we're not doing it. But it takes the people to kind of see that they need to leave.
Yes.
They need to see that the same people calling Kyrie, Kanye, Nick Cannon anti-Semites for purporting history and for telling you who's in control, who's ruling and lording over you. These are billionaires telling you that there are higher billionaires that have control over everything, right? There's an entire unit, right? Like there's a company called BlackRock. It's Jewish owned. The Federal Reserve is Jewish owned, And they're saying that this information is now anti-Semitism.
My goodness.
The IMF Bank is Jewish owned. They're saying this is anti-Semitism now. If you say it,
Yes.
they're saying the land of Israel is given with the cooperation of the United States and England. Is given to them, and that is not their indigenous land. And they're saying that this history is anti-Semitism.
Yes. Yes.
So how is this history, right? You've been in this land for 70 years, disrupting the region, trying to colonize other nations of people that have been here for thousands of years, unable to obtain peace, which the prophecy says. So now we're coming to find out that the entirety of this book is anti-Semitic. But let's see, because the word Chaldean is the word Hasidic in Hebrew. So in English, they changed the word Hasidic to Chaldean.
Okay.
So, right, they say he came from Ur of the Chaldees when he came from Ur of the Hasidi.
Yes.
So Abraham came from the land of the Hasidic people's possession, which is where you are now. But let's see if that's in the instruction.
Okay. The great, the mighty Allah, Yahweh Sabaoth is his name, whose counsels are great and his works many. You, before whom all the ways of men are revealed, to render to each man according to his way and according to the fruits of his works.
So now he's talking to you, the people, right?
Yes.
He's talking to me, and he's saying, now is your time and your opportunity for you to display true judgment.
Yes.
To come back and learn and show forth the works, the fruit of righteousness, of good works, by judging yourselves, ruling over yourselves, right? To do righteous judgment, to come out from the land of the Hasidi and do so, right? So now this is Yahya saying, I'm talking to you, the listener, you, the reader.
Yes.
Okay, continue.
Who have set signs and wonders in the land of Egypt up to this day, and have performed miracles for Israel among men, and have made for yourself a name as at this day.
So he's saying, I performed this miracle for you as at this day, that your name is still preserved even today.
Yes.
Now, this seems awful relevant, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Very relevant.
I'm just saying, we're reading the book. But this is the difference between the Aramaic, is the Aramaic will present itself in the present time. So the word of the prophet relates to the people of the day, and they can see clearly what is going on. So as at today, so here's this miracle. I did this with Kyrie, with Kanye. I did this with Nick Cannon. I did this with Ron Dalton, which is the documentary I'm in.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
And revealed all of this to you today.
My goodness.
Go ahead.
And you have brought forth your people Israel from the land of Egypt with signs and wonders, and with a strong hand, and with an exalted arm, and with the great vision. And you gave them this land which you swore to their fathers to give them, a land producing milk and honey. And they went up and took possession of it, but they did not heed your memorah.
So after our forefathers got all the stuff, we didn't listen to the memorah. Now, the memorah is the word.
Yes.
Right? This is the word of God and its detailed instructions. So now he's saying you didn't do that. So that's how we got in this mess today, right?
Yes.
So when you see Kanye say slavery is choice, this is the choice. We could have avoided it, but we didn't avoid it.
Correct.
So now we're in this mess, and now we have to get back out.
Nor did they walk in your law. All that you had commanded them to do, they did not do, so that you met them with all this evil. See the earth works, They have gathered together against the city to take it, and the city is handed over into the power of the Chaldeans.
So that he says, this is, look at the world and look at
Yes.
how all the earth works. He says they have taken the city, right? And the city, this is the city of Jerusalem, right? And the
Yes.
city is handed over into the power of the Hasidic people. So is that anti-Semitism now? Is this anti-Semitic? Because it says that the people of Jerusalem, the Negroes, the Hebrews, were handed over into the power and the control of the Hasidic people, the Chaldeans, the Hasidic people, right? If you have a Sefer right now, the entire Sefer now is anti-Semitic because it literally says KSDAI, which is, people think they read in English is cast die. It's not cast die. AI in the native land is E.
E.
So whenever you see E, AI, it is pronounced E. And Hasidi, because the K is the Chet.
Yes.
Hasidi. SD doesn't have a vowel.
Yes.
It's just Hasidi. The S and the D are together. Hasidi. This Hasidi is Chaldean. And anybody, you can go read it for yourself and then go look at the world.
Yes.
So this is where you are. So now Jeremiah is anti-Semitic. So we're going to continue.
From before those who killed with the sword and famine and pestilence, and what you have spoken has come to pass and is revealed before you. And you yourself said to me, O Ya Allah, buy the field with silver and call witnesses. But the city has been handed over into the power of the Chaldeans.
So again, the city is handed over. He said, buy the land, buy the city, and the city is handed over to the Hasidim. Right? So this is what happened in Jeremiah's time. So these so-called Jewish people, right?
Yes.
I'm going to call them so-called because it says they were Hasidim then, and these are Hasidic Jewish people. No other people in the world call themselves Hasidic, right? So
Right.
either you're trying to say that the Hasidic people disappeared or they relabeled themselves. Oh, they relabeled themselves. So now the Hasidic people had took the land from Jeremiah. Again, we're dealing with the same thing. So let's continue to read it. But this was the same plan and idea. And because it didn't work in Jeremiah's time, I had the idea that because it seems so relevant today, to do it again. Continue reading.
And the word of prophecy from before Yah was with Jeremiah, saying, Behold, I am Yah, the Allah of all flesh. Is anything hidden from before me? Therefore, thus says Yah, I am handing over this city into the power of the Chaldeans and into the power of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, and he shall conquer it. And the Chaldeans who are waging war against this city shall enter and burn this city with fire, and they shall burn it down, and the houses upon whose roofs they offered up incense to Baal and pour out libations.
Hold on 1 minute, go ahead.
To the idols of the nation, so as to provoke to anger before me. For the sons of Israel and the sons of Judah have been doing only what is evil before me from their youth. For the Israelites have only been provoking to anger before me with the works of their hands, says Yah. For my anger and my wrath have hovered over this city.
So the city is Judah again. And the fact is, while they are in the possession of the Hasidic people, while they are in America and wherever they are, under the possession of the Hasidic people, they have not yet obeyed